I love Ed Wood. It is one of my favourite films of all time, so I was very excited to hear you reuniting with the same writers. What were the two experiences like? How did they compare?
Well, I mean, there was similarity because Scott and Larry are very good at sort of taking these real life people that are sort of marginalized in a certain way by, in society, just sort of slightly outside of the realm. Also, the kind of question of what's good and bad. I myself experienced that kind of thing. Some people like it, some people hate it, and in the case of Ed Wood, in the case of the Keens, very polarizing, opinions about like the artwork. Some people loved it, hanging in living rooms all across America. Some people wanted to rip it off the walls. So it had an impact. Even the people that hated it, you have to go like, well, because a lot of people were trying to do rip-off. So it became a real movement, and whether people liked it or not, it was something that had power to people.
And I'm always interested, people make a sort of very binary distinction between your sort of real sort of dramas and your fantasy sort of gothic films. I mean, is that something that you make in your own mind? I mean, when you approach something like this?
No, I don't. I mean, because for me, if it got inside my mind, fantasy and reality are quite blurred. I mean, what some people say is normal, I find abnormal, and some things that people find abnormal, I find more, I've experienced that. So I think, that's the interesting thing, how people view things. I've had films where people, about the same film, like on Batman Returns, oh, this is so much darker than the last one. Oh, the next person, this is so much lighter. I mean, how can something be lighter and then the other polarization, it'd be dark, light and dark are two opposite things. So people's perception on things is quite interesting to me. And I think that the question of like this and what's art, what's good or bad, it's kind of unanswerable, but it's an interesting question.
Well, it's very much in the film as well, obviously. I mean, some people read into the eyes as being tragic, some people read into them as being, it's all kinds of different.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people, I mean, that's why I think you didn't really hear about the story so much, because most people didn't even consider it art, I mean, most like critics and all, it's like kitsch. It's not really, you can't say this is art, So, it must have been strange for Margaret, because kind of keeping this secret and hiding it, and at the same time being criticized, calling it garbage, I mean, so it was a strange time.
Was it a movement that you were familiar with, the art, the actual kind of kitsch movies?
Oh yeah, no, I grew up with it. I mean, like I said, it was like suburban art. I mean, it's kind of the only art I knew. I mean, you go to people's houses, in the living room, in the bedroom, in the doctor's office, dentist's office, supermarket, you didn't see Matisse's or Picasso's like you saw these, and so I was very aware of it, and like a weird dream, the images stayed with you. It's like I can't say as I would see them and go, oh, I love that. I found them quite disturbing. That's why I think I was fascinated by it, because it's like children. And then at the time, this sort of the American dream, and this couple, this sort of dysfunctional couple coming together to make these weird children. It just seemed like a weird sort of symbolic version of the flip side of the American dream in a way.
You mentioned Batman there. I wanted to quickly ask you, I know you're in the Superman Lives documentary that's coming out about that kind of aborted project. Would you ever have any interest in going back to that world? Because the comic book movies have kind of eaten Hollywood now, it seems like.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so weird because it's like doing Batman, 1980, whatever, it's a while back. It's amazing how it's not only continued, but just eaten not only Hollywood, but the world.